Yes, hello all. Welcome to the Saturdays for Sustainability Learning. And we are connecting here first time in the year 2024. I have updated some of the formats and but the goal remains the same, which is to discuss sustainability issues in a systematic manner for holistic understanding. So that is the purpose, that is the goal with which we are connecting for this initiative. And quickly before starting, I'll just explain some of the points what this initiative is all about. So this is a mastermind group, and if you want to know who invented it, so you might have known Napoleon Hill, who wrote a famous book Think and Grow Rich. So who he was the inventor for this particular term, and generally it talks about a peer-to-peer mentoring group which help members solve their problems and with the inputs and advice and expertise from the group members. So this initiative aims to be a mastermind group for all of us, and it builds on the concept of synergy. So synergy is nothing but one plus one have the infinite possibilities for the solutions. So that is what the concept, that is what the inspiration for all of us to connect together for this 1 hour. So the outcome for this initiative would be definitely learning something new every week, and it's not possible to devote time for learning in this demanding time. So let's use this 1 hour to learn new concept, networking with fellow professionals, getting to know about different opportunities in terms of maybe I would say learning opportunities or the resources or the job or entrepreneurship. There are a number of possibilities. And the last is about thought leadership in sustainability field. So I'll just quickly share with you what is the plan and why this initiative is little bit different. First is DIKW pyramid. This is all about data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. All four are different. We generally don't acknowledge that. So data is a basic uh, that is available, that's freely available. Data information is, I guess we are currently in information age. So whatever we require, it's readily available. But something we are missing in this flood of information, flood of data, is the knowledge and wisdom, where exactly to apply it and how to gain more benefit out of it. So that is something that we would like to discuss from this discussions. We would like to gain more understanding with the expertise of all, and that's why this initiative is based on discussion, question and answer, asking the difficult questions and trying to learn with each other. So I guess that is the best way to learn, and therefore this discussion entire maybe the WhatsApp group is also focused, not focused on sharing data, sharing information. It's only for discussion, and that is also coming to the weekly sessions, right? So every Saturday we are connecting for this 1 hour, and we we communicate with two ways. First is WhatsApp group, and if you don't want to be on WhatsApp, so I can send the invite on calendar. So these are the two ways through which you can get the invite. And if you haven't got it, so this is a form, Google form, that you can fill and you can get the registration for this initiative. Yeah, so as this is a 2024 new year, so happy new year to all. And I just would like to explain two very basic fundamental things of this initiative or for learning. One is the Shanti Mantra, which I feel is very important for learning, and I would like to share with you all for today. That is, I hope you can see the screen, and this is on, yeah, this is full screen. Let me just quickly check if you can see full screen. No. Okay, all right. So this is on full screen. So this is one Vedic Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is a very powerful mantra before starting any learning. So this is the request for protection, nourishment, and after that to happen, we should courageously act, but for what? For attaining something valuable. So, and while doing so, we should not mutually dispute. There should not be animosity between us. So that is very wonderful, wonderful prayer that we have. And the second one is, it's regarding learning. I'll just quickly share. Just a minute. Second, what I want to share with you all is how do we learn? And I strongly believe the learning happens through multiple ways. And this is one of the important shlok from Mahabharata Udyog Parv. And I'm sharing it on screen, which is so Padam here means 1/4 or 25%. So how do we acquire knowledge? So it is Acharyat Padam Adatte. So 25% from the teacher. Padam Shishya Swamedeya, 25% from own intellect. Padam Sabrahmacharibhyaha. So another 20% from our colleague or classmates, and the remaining 25% Kalakramenacha. So in this way, as you can see the meaning in English and Hindi on the screen. So I strongly believe that such kind of discussions, when happen, we get at least 75% of the knowledge, leaving the 25% to the experience or to the time. And if we are consistent enough, we are also getting that as well. So hopefully this initiative will give us the first 3/4 of the knowledge. And I explained this today because this is the first day for this year, and just wanted to make it clear for all that yes, so this is a way how we can learn and how we are going to go ahead during these discussions. Right. So I hope you are with me till this time, and directly let's discuss about today's topic, which is the limits to growth. And this very interesting document or interesting work that has been done, a seminal work in the history of sustainability. So this is week 27 today, and we have a topic limits to growth, a 1972 report and current sustainability scenario. So I'll just quickly share one presentation for all, and just let me know if you can see the presentation. Just a minute. I'll pull it full screen. Just a minute. Yes. So I hope you can see the presentation where limits to growth is written, right?
Yeah, visible.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So this is very popular discussion nowadays, and I would also like to ask you, do you think that sustainability is something new or environmental conservation that we are thinking about as of today for ESG reports or sustainability reports? So that is quite new that we all know, right? I hope you both agree with me, right?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, because the majority of people got to know only recently about these things, but actually the discussion is not new, and we are going way back 50 years back, 1972. And this to start with this report is really great for me for this 2024. The reason being, the motto of the group, the Saturdays for Sustainability Learning, it is a concept of synergy, and the same concept this report was built or prepared because there were multiple organizations, multiple people came together. Some of the names, as you can see on the screen, that is Club of Rome, which was a think tank. In 1968, they formed, and they thought, let's find out what are the biggest problems for the mankind and let's try to solve it. Then, second was MIT in USA, where they had developed a new discipline called as system dynamics under Jay Forrester. So they came into picture to do this all the analysis, and first time the use of computer and simulations came into existence for this particular report. The third was funding was given from Volkswagen Foundation, and Potomac Associates were printing this book. So they also came into picture as a synergy, as a mastermind group for all these different people. So in short, I'll just explain some of the points from this report. But at the start, this is written that, as you can read, we hope that the limits to growth will command critical attention and spark debate in all societies. We hope that it will encourage each reader to think through the consequences of continuing to equate growth with progress. And we hope that it will lead thoughtful men and women in all fields of endeavor to consider the need for concerted action now if we are to preserve the habitability of this planet for ourselves and our children. So this is very clear. And I also hope that today we have some debate and understanding what exactly is given into this report. So, as I was saying, the Club of Rome was a group of different distinguished people, and these were the visionary people, I must say. They tried to find the predicament of mankind. So, what is the predicament of mankind and how do we solve it? So, that was the question that they were asking themselves around 1968, 1969. And this is predicament of mankind is something that man can perceive the problematic. So, problematic is something that it is a difficult problem. Yet, despite his considerable knowledge and skills, he does not understand the origin, significance, and interrelationship of its many components, and thus is unable to devise effective response. So, I'm quoting all this information from the book itself, from the report itself. So the failure occurs in large part because we continue to examine single items in the problematic without understanding that the whole is more than sum of its parts, that change in one element means change in others. So here comes the concept of systems thinking or system dynamics, and this whole book is based on system dynamic principles, which later on became separate field of expertise, a new way of thinking and providing solutions. So which is very interesting, and this book gave me initial uh, motivation to go further into system dynamics. So we will have one session on systems thinking as well in coming weeks as well. But let's come back to this report. So the five factors, what they thought, these are the five factors which limit the growth on the planet. So if you want to grow, there are some limitations. So these are the five major. First is population, second is agriculture production, third is natural resources, fourth industrial production, and fifth is pollution. So they took these five and analyzed with the help of computer simulation model of system dynamics, and tried to uh, get the conclusions out of it. So this was the ultimate model, the world model that they called, which system dynamics works about. So they create a different model and simulation and try to understand the interrelationship of different elements. So I will not go into it as of now, but just for your information. And some of the conclusions from this report were, so if the present growth trends continue, limits to growth on this planet will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. So we are talking about it in 1972. So next 100 years, around 50 years we have completed. So next 50 years, we will see sometime in the next 50 years. The most probable result will be a rather sudden and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. Then it is possible to alter these growth trends and to establish a condition of ecological and economic stability that is sustainable far into the future. So this is second, that it is possible, and we need to start early. The sooner that work begins, it's greater chances of success that we all have. So these were some of the initial conclusions of this report, and after this report in 1972, again after 30 years, after 20 years, there was one more report was published. So they showed how the predictions into the future that came into actual existence with actual data. And again, after 40 years also, there was one more report published for the limits to growth as well. So today, I'll just keep this discussion for the initial 1972 report, and we will try to understand how it is still relevant, though it is 50 years old, but the basic understanding from the report is still uh, valid for today. And the notion that we understand sustainability is something very new. It's not always like that. Actually, these issues that we are discussing in sustainability, so that was already old, but the only thing is these are not popularized, and somehow as a mankind we fail to address these problems in time. Yeah, so these were some of the conclusions. Just a minute. Yeah, so this is the report. This is one graph from the report. So at this point of time, I would like to directly go to the report, and we will see it from there only. All right. So this is just initial introduction for the report. So I hope you are clear with it. If you have any question or anything that we can discuss, please, you can ask. Anything you would like to comment, please. Should we move ahead then? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll just quickly share some of the important points from the report, and yeah, later on we can open it for discussion. So as you can see on the screen, this is the report, the limits to growth. Main writers were Donella Meadows, Dennis Meadows, Jordan Randalls, and William Behrens. So these were the report, a report for the Club of Rome's project on the predicament of mankind that we have just quickly saw. So I'll just start it. Yeah, so in 1968, the group of 30 individuals from 10 countries came together. So that was the Club of Rome. And they started to find out which are the problems and how do we solve it. So the project that initiated out of that discussion was the predicament of mankind that we quickly saw just now, right? So we have already seen this point. And at the same time, the computer were developed, and the practical ways how to use the computer and simulation models were came into existence in MIT. And at that time, there was a Professor Jay Forrester of MIT, and he was working with a new model, a new field, which is called as system dynamics. It is a created a body of expertise uniquely suited to the research demands and understanding the complex problems. So that was the initial days. And one good thing happened that all these people came together and in spirit of synergy, I must say, so they worked on the predicament of mankind. How do we solve these problems? And they initially identify the five limits and try to understand it with system dynamics model. So just I'll share some of the highlighted points over here. And this report start with one of the graph of human perspective. I might have shared this earlier as well, but it start with humans perspective. That is the problems that we all have. It can be plotted in X and Y axis. On X axis, it is time, how immediate the problem is for us from the left towards right, let's say our lifetime or our children's lifetime, so maybe 50, 100 years, 200 years into the future. On an y-axis it is immediate or the spatial distance, so maybe family is very closer to us, then neighborhood, society, then nation, then world, and in this way we are going away from our own existence. So generally 80%, 90% of the people, their problem lie in the left quadrant at the bottom up, because they only think about next week or next month, and we all do that, right? So our immediate problems are more concern for us rather than what will happen after 50 years or 100 years. That's true. And same holds true for the family and the spatial distance as well. So we care more for our family or our neighborhood, our city, compared to some other city or some other nation situated at the other end of the world. And that's fine. But ultimately, our actions should be in such a way that we also work in a way that will be helpful somehow for the future generation. And if we cannot do it, at least we should not create more problems for them in whatever distance way. So maybe for next generation or maybe for people living away from us. So that is a perspective of the problems for people. So they started with that. And definitely this report was forcing us to understand these different problems that we have currently. And these conclusions I've already discussed on the slide. But at the start, they started with understanding the nature of exponential growth. So, how does exponential growth happen, and whether we as a human being can understand these problems or not? Okay. So, in this way, multiple data were collected and it was mapped and it was analyzed with the computer simulation models. But this is a very famous riddle. It is called as French riddle for children, and very interesting activity as well. So I'll just quickly ask it for you. I guess the riddle, it's not over here. But yeah, so I'll just quickly explain the riddle is, let's say there is a lily, there is one lake, and in that there is a lily plant which doubles in size every day. And if we are not, if the lily were allowed to grow unchecked, it would completely cover the pond in 30 days. So what happened? Every day it gets doubled, and in 30 days it covers the entire pond. What happened then? It chokes off the other form of life in the water, and that's how it is detrimental for the aquatic life for a long time. And if we understand this in scenario, so at what point of time that pond will have the half of the pond as a lily covered? So surprisingly it comes as a uh, it doesn't come as a 15 day, it comes as a 29 day. So on 29 day, we will get to know that the pond is filled with half the 50% of the pond is filled with lily, and we will have only one day maybe to have some corrective action. But unfortunately, it's not possible at the end. Let's say only one day, it's not possible, and that's how the problem with the exponential growth happens. And this is something that we all need to think about the different problems. And here they explain the concept of doubling time, and with growth percent for each year, how the doubling time differs. So for our population as well, we have seen that we have a doubling. We have the addition of 1 billion population in 11, 12 years in the recent past. For the past 3 billion people have been added in less than 12 years. So in short, this is the way all the data were collected and analyzed, and this is one form of one very peculiar uh, feature of systems dynamics, where we study the feedback loops and how different elements interact with each other, and what is the impact of delay on the behavior of the system. So that is very interesting field. In short, this is the way it is done. And there are many feedback loops shared in this document. So I'll just quickly share one, and then we can move ahead. So let's say if we think about the population, so population is kept in balance with the birth every year. So birth per year adds to the population, and again after some delay, uh, the birth also happen, right, with the population. And the same way, death per year, it affects the population, the number of people that we have, and this number also will have some bearing on number of death per year that are happening. So in this way, this is continuous in loop. One is a positive feedback loop, second is a negative feedback loop, and through the balance of these two, the population is maintained. And they have tried to analyze the different, let's say if it's a population or the resource consumption. So everything is mapped, industrial production, as you can see on the screen. So they have mapped everything and tried to understand the dynamics of these different elements and impact on each other. All right, so I'll not discuss anything particular, all the points over here. But if you'd like to stop me somewhere, please, where you find it interesting, please let me know so that we can stop over there. I have highlighted some of the points, some important points. I'll just quickly go over there, and then we can take that. Yeah, so these are some of the interesting numbers that we can deliberate. The first is the primary resource necessary for producing food is land. The recent studies indicate that there are at most about 3.2 billion hectares of land, which is equal to 7.86 billion acres, potentially suitable for agriculture on the earth. Approximately half of the land, the richest, most accessible half, is under cultivation today, and the remaining land will require immense capital inputs to reach, clear, irrigate, and fertilize before it's ready to produce food. And as of now, today, after 50 years of this report, so we have already more than, let's say, population is almost double, and at the same time, the resource, the uh, the load, or what I can say, the food requirement that has grown tremendously, and we are also cutting the forest as well. But one thing is very clear, that the arable land, so that what the where from the food is uh, we all require, which is basic necessity for all life, so which is also limited. And to improve or to increase the food production, the fertilizer, how we have increased the fertilizer use, how we have increased the insecticides, pesticides, so that is also they have tracked. And one of the important points here was about DDT, or the pesticides that we use. So this is one statistic over here. To achieve a 34% increase in world food production from 1951 to 1966, agriculturists increase yearly expenditure on tractors by 63%, annual investment in nitrate fertilizers by 146%, and annual use of pesticides by 300%. The next 34% increase will require even greater inputs of capital and resources. That's true. And even we haven't considered the ill effects of fertilizers and the pesticides that is we are having on the living systems of the planet. So they have also given about details about DDT, which I'll share.
Actually, this is all before Green Revolution, Blue Revolution, White Revolution. No?
Yes, definitely. It's before for India, yeah. We had Green Revolution in around, I guess, after the famine of 1966, right?
Yeah, this book was printed before that. So after that, lots of advancement has been made in form of
Yeah,
revolution.
yeah, yes. But one thing is sure, means whatever the logic that report derives, so that are absolutely great. And I'll also share at the end what conclusions they have given. So it's really wonderful to think that these people could think about this 50 years back. So that is wonderful
So
thing.
that is what led to advancement, I think.
Yes.
Because people were thinking about that. That's why they found ways to tackle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just skip some of these technical details. Okay. So, but the feel of the report is they have analyzed multiple data points, multiple information was taken into account, and with the help of system dynamics models, so they have created these kind of models and how they will grow into the future. So that also they have estimated. And one of the important thing that they came up into this report was they have analyzed different scenarios for the future. Okay. Yeah, so this was about the DDT, the chemical that I was talking about. And one interesting fact about this DDT and the different pesticides was this was the second report which had a tremendous impact on environmental conservation in the world. The first one stands the Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. So she was a scientist who identified the impacts of pesticide on life. She wrote a book in 1962 that was published. So that was the first report which had a lot of discussion in United States and all over the world. So that becomes the first book which had created the curiosity for the people to understand these impacts. And the second one was definitely the limits to growth. So the DDT, it is currently banned in entire world, but still we had used so much DDT in the past. So it's really means why we couldn't understood that within time. So that was the question. But they have also analyzed how we have used it, and how the proportion of DDT into the different plants, different animals that increased, and what are the impact of that on the environment, on people. So they have analyzed all these data points, so which is good. So report is quite uh, having many details and many statistics over there. So this is how system dynamics model causal loop diagram looks like. So it shows different causal points, different elements, and how they interact with each other. and this is called as a feedback loop. This is the entire the world model, the famous the first this report came up with this world model, tried to understand different elements, how they interact with each other. So this is one peculiar feature of system dynamics. I'll just quickly show you how they had created different scenarios for the future. And unfortunately, these scenarios were true when we understood in last 30-40 years how the global trend has evolved. And yeah, so in this way, they have created this scenario, this simulation models with the computer. And as you can see, there are multiple simulation models over here with different considerations, as you can see. Right. So I'll just skip it for now. Okay. But at the end, I would like to read some of the important points over here, and which will you will also appreciate the importance of this report and how they have come up with it. So they have shared some more details on the technical solutions. So many time what happen, people during sustainability discussions, so they come up with this line that we have evolved so much, we have so much technological solutions, and definitely it will solve the problems in the future as well. But a technical solution, if we define it, it is one that requires a change only in the technologies of the natural science, demanding little or nothing in the way of change in human values or ideas of morality. So, numerous problems today have no technical solutions. For example, nuclear arms race. So, definitely, we are very ahead in technological innovation into nuclear arms or racial tensions or unemployment, but no technical solution can solve these problems, right? So if society's technological progress fulfills all expectation, it may be very well be a problem with no technical solution, or the interaction of several such problems that finally brings an end to population and capital growth. So we need to explore, so can technological solutions solve all the problems? So that is a one way to look at it. And I have highlighted some of the points. Yeah, so the Sierra Club is from the USA, and which is very respectable with its history for environmental conservation. And they say that not blind opposition to progress, but opposition to blind progress. So we don't want to oppose the progress, all progress, but it is opposition for the blind progress. And definitely everyone should do that, right? So we should not just blindly follow whatever trend that we have. So we should be able to question why we are doing it and how we want to do it to suit for the specific situation for us. So a lot of data points over here, graphs. I have highlighted some of the points at the end. Yeah. Yeah. So again here, how a technological advance would solve the problems, and these are some of the examples given over here. So maybe new methods of waste collection, or to decrease pollution, to make discarded material available for recycling, so where technological solutions can be more helpful. Then second is more efficient techniques of recycling or reduce rate of resource depletion. Again here we are talking about, let's say, circular economy, right? Better product design to increase product lifetime and promote easy repair so that the capital depreciation rate would be minimized. Harnessing of incident solar energy, the most pollution free power source. Methods of natural pest control based on more complete understanding of ecological interrelationships. Medical advances that would decrease the death rate. And the last, contraceptive advances that would facilitate the equalization of the birth rate with the decrease in death rate. So these are some of the really thoughts, and it's inspiring that these people thought about it in 1970s. So that's wonderful thing. And at last, they have given one outcome, the reflections of this report, and I would like to share in short. So these are the preliminary views that they published with this report. But all the committee were in agreement with the following points, and some of them I'll read. First is, we are convinced that realization of the quantitative restraint of the world environment and the tragic consequences of an overshoot. So overshoot is something that we have a limit to growth, right? And we are still we are consuming more resources than that limit. So that is the concept of overshoot. uh, Tragic consequences of an overshoot is essential to the initiation of new form of thinking that will lead to a fundamental revision of human behavior, and by implication of the entire fabric of present day society. So that stands true today. We need to change or refine the human behavior and the practices that we have today. We are further convinced that demographic pressure in the world has already attained such a high level and is moreover so unequally distributed that this alone must compel mankind to seek a state of equilibrium on our planet. So it's about finding maybe population control at the more populated areas, and at the same time uh, having a equilibrium for the use of resources. Third, we recognize the world equilibrium can become a reality only if a lot of so-called developing countries is substantially improved both in absolute term and relative to the economically developed nations. And we affirm that this improvement can be achieved only through global strategy. So this is one good point. And at the same time, they have also commented that developed countries should take up their own responsibilities. So it's not only we are forcing developing countries to, let's say, stop their development or to stop pollution. It's not possible. A global strategy should evolve out of it. Then yes, so global issue of development. So it is interlinked with the global issues, and overall strategy must be evolved to attack all major problems, including in particular those of man's relationship with his environment. And we recognize that complex world problematic is to a great extent composed of elements that cannot be expressed in measurable terms. Nevertheless, we believe that a predominantly quantitative approach used in this report is an indispensable tool for understanding the operation of the problematic. So yes, the first part is important. We cannot measure all the things, but at the same time, what is measurable, so where we can improve, so that also very important. And I guess in ESG or sustainability reporting, we are doing the same thing, that we are trying to quantify how exactly the company is having impact on the environment, and then trying to improve on that. We are unanimously convinced that rapid radical redressment of the present unbalanced and dangerously deteriorating world situation is the primary task facing humanity. So before 50 years also, it was uh, the first primary task that all world leaders should have taken up. But unfortunately, it's a complex problem, and all people couldn't be mobilized for it. This supreme effort is a challenge for our generations. It cannot be passed on to next, but it has come to next generation or the next to next generation. The effort must be resolutely undertaken without delay, and significant redirection must be achieved during this decade. So the sense of urgency is there. Such an effort calls for joint endeavor by all peoples, whatever their culture, economic system, or level of development. But the major responsibility must rest with the more developed nations, not because they have more vision or humanity, but because, having propagated the growth syndrome, they are still at the fountainhead of the progress that sustains it. And I guess this is very important statement that is coming out of this report, that major responsibility should be taken by the developed countries, and it should stop from their end at least. Yeah, so it's about we unequivocally support the contention that a break imposed on world demographic and economic growth spirals must not lead to a freezing of the status quo of economic development of the world's nations. If such a proposal were advanced by the rich nations, it would be taken as a final act of neo-colonialism. So that is what we are seeing currently. So maybe developed countries are saying that developing countries should stop their development or stop producing the carbon dioxide. So that's not going to happen. So we should be fair in the judgment of development for all. So that is something very important. And finally, we affirm that any deliberate attempt to reach a rational and enduring state of uh, equilibrium by planned measures rather than by chance or catastrophe must ultimately be founded on a basic change of values and goals at individual, national, and world levels. So, because of all these points, I find this report very important, and it not only offers a detailed understanding of the problem, but at the same time, it also gives some insight on, uh, let's say, in whatever level we are working. So maybe at a personal level or maybe at organizational level, what is exactly solution that we can find out whatever is in our control. So I guess this is one of the pioneering report in that sense. And finally, yes, so man must explore himself, his goal and values as much as the world he seeks to change. And the dedication to both tasks must be unending. So this is how the report ends. So with this, I find it very interesting. And uh, in my journey for sustainability understanding, this report uh, gave me a lot of understanding, a lot of basic insights on what exactly is happening in the field. Any comments? Yeah, so at the end, they have given appendix for the related studies.
Dhananjay ji, this is a good report. And can we also see some CRISIL report or something like that in next session?
Which one?
CRISIL, CRISIL. There is an organization, CRISIL, CRISIL
Okay,
report.
okay, right. Okay, all right.
So that will give us
Uh-huh.
how today things are happening nowadays.
Right. So CRISIL is the same, right? So some people pronounce as CRISIL, right?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can check that as well. So I'll just quickly share that on screen, and maybe let's check if anything is available. Just a minute. Yeah, this is the same, right? That you were talking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We can see a data on ASG reporting and all.
Mhm.
It is there.
Yeah, sure. And I guess CRISIL is one of the most reputed organization in terms of
Yeah,
comparing the ESG performance of different organizations, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, definitely. We can check it for next week. Okay, great. Anything you would like to add for today's discussion?
Yeah, the second was very nice and some insights we have received. And but I think we can make this discussion more relevant towards industrial use, how things are happening in India and all, because we
Hmm.
are losing our audience also. That is also one
Yeah,
of the things. So
yes.
if we can make it more and more relevant, like academic thing is there, but some more industrial things if we can
Mm.
use in this.
Sure. Definitely. Yeah. Okay, great then. So, Sarvesh, would you like to add anything? ठीक है, ठीक है, चलो, थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर ज्वाइनिंग एंड adding your valuable insights. Thank you. So we'll stop here for
Thank
today
you.
and let's connect next week. Yeah, thanks.